This video is brought to you by Loot Crate. Follow the link in the description and use the promo code also in the description to get $3 off your first crate. Hey, what's up, people? Fizz out here, and I've got another review request for you guys. This one courtesy of 007 Drax Gomez, who requested that I discuss the 1986 thriller The Hitcher, written by Eric Red and directed by Robert Harmon. And his request of The Hitcher actually got quite a number of thumbs up as well. So quite a few of you guys out there want to hear me discuss The Hitcher. And let me say that it will be a pleasure discussing The Hitcher because I love this movie. I can vividly remember watching the movie for the first time many, many years ago on VHS. And by the end of it, just being absolutely blown away. And I think it's the kind of film that only gets better over multiple viewings. I've seen the movie many times. Just about every time I see the film, I notice something new about it, which is very interesting because when I think of The Hitcher, I think of, you can break The Hitcher down a couple of different ways. On one level, The Hitcher is a straightforward, no subplots, basically two characters, not a lot of dialogue kind of thriller. The most straightforward kind of thriller you can imagine. But when you start peeling away layers of the movie, there's a lot going on beneath the surface of The Hitcher. Very simple story. You've got this young guy played by C. Thomas Howell. He's driving this drive-away car across country to deliver it to the owner. He drives through the desert. He even says it in the film. Before he picks up a hitchhiker, he opens the door upon the hitchhiker and says, "My mother told me never to do this." The hitchhiker in the film, played by Rutger Hauer, it's a wonderful game of cat and mouse that then begins at that point, where you have Rutger Hauer's character of John Ryder just constantly tormenting and one step ahead of C. Thomas Howell's character, Jim Halsey. And it's so intense, the film, the action sequences are so intense, amazing, beautiful, so well choreographed action sequences. This movie was made in 1986. Those action sequences, they look so great. They beat any CGI action sequence in much bigger budgeted movies, hands down. Hands down. The intensity of the atmosphere and the mood of the movie, it's almost palpable. This is, from a technical standpoint, I think just a perfect thriller. It's wonderfully directed. It's shot beautifully. I've never seen the desert look so beautiful. The word lush comes to mind. And using the word lush to describe the desert doesn't really go together, but when I think of the cinematography in The Hitcher, that's the only word that just makes sense to me, is lush. The desert landscape just looks absolutely lush. I believe it was John Dahl who shot the film, and again, I've never seen the desert look this good in a movie. The score from Wayne Isham it's that kind of sleepwalky, pure atmosphere that just gets in under your skin and in your head and creates this almost dreamlike atmosphere for the film. Great performances. C. Thomas Howell as Jim Halsey. He's this just totally innocent, almost too innocent of a kid who picks up this hitchhiker, played by Rutger Hauer, and one of Rutger Hauer's best performances. When you think of Rutger Hauer, of course you think of Blade Runner, and Rutger Hauer was phenomenal in Blade Runner. When I think of Rutger Hauer, I think of him in The Hitcher, and he plays this, he's almost an elemental. he's this force of nature kind of character. Think of Michael Myers, but with a personality and can speak. He is just, you can't take your eyes off him when he's on screen. He's so interesting, he's so captivating, yet at the same time, he is terrifying because there's so much going on with him and with his interplay with C. Thomas Howell's character. But just on face value, if you don't look any deeper into The Hitcher than just it being a perfect thriller, again, technically perfect. Robert Harmon, who directed the film, it's a shame he did not direct more movies like The Hitcher. I think he went on to direct Nowhere to Run, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and he directed They. But a crying shame that he did not direct more films like The Hitcher, because this guy definitely, mood, atmosphere for this kind of movie, he's got it down perfectly. Again, the cinematography, beautiful, beautiful. The score, great. The action sequences, phenomenal. Just a really, really intense, white knuckle kind of movie. There's not 1 second in this movie that is wasted. Not 1 second in this movie is wasted. Now, on another level, if you look deeper into The Hitcher, again, exploring that relationship between Jim Halsey and John Ryder, there's definitely some uncomfortable stuff going on there. And you can look at it really, a couple of different ways. When Jim Halsey meets John Ryder wants to die. He wants to die. His existence is traveling the desert and just killing whoever crosses his path. Which can't be a great existence. But he wants Jim Halsey to earn it. He wants Halsey to earn killing him, ending him. So you can look at the movie as this sort of, tale of, the Rutger Hauer character is a metaphor for all the trials and tribulations that one must overcome in their life to succeed and become an adult, etc., etc., etc. You can look at John Ryder's character as just a metaphor for evil and evil's continuing attempts to corrupt innocence. And as I said, Jim Halsey in the beginning is just perfectly innocent. But what I like to think of the film on this deeper level, I think that John Ryder and Jim Halsey are essentially the same person. They're the light and the dark that live inside all of us. And there's that constant fight. We all have good inside of us. We all have evil inside of us. And which way we go, is up to us. And in the end, you really see, Halsey's descent into madness and his descent into corruption. As I said, John Ryder, the Rutger Hauer character, wants Halsey to kill him, wants him to take his life. And at the end of it, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but when he does kill John Ryder dies with a smile on his face, because ultimately, in my opinion, he's won. He's corrupted innocence. That's just my take on The Hitcher when I like to read into it a little deeper, because there's so much subtext going on there. That relationship is really almost uncomfortable at times. There's a point where Jim Halsey spits in John Ryder's face, and John Ryder just kind of wipes it off, and he looks at it, and he's like rubbing it between his fingers, and there's a really weird sequence where they meet in like this truck stop diner, and John Ryder puts coins on his eyes. How back in the day they would put coins on the eyes of the dead so that they could pay the ferryman to boat them across the river Styx. But then he gives him bullets for his gun. Like, here, you'll need these to combat me later on in the film. Just a lot going on in The Hitcher, and I love it. I love the film. I think it's an absolutely perfect movie. They do everything right in The Hitcher. Jennifer Jason Leigh is in the film. This is one of her early performances. She's I want to say the word love interest, but there's no love story. In any other movie, they would have completely halted the plot and said, okay, Jim Halsey, you're going to have like this little love scene with Jennifer Jason Leigh's character in the movie. No, that's not there at all. And Jennifer Jason Leigh in the movie, she has a very, very her demise in the film appalled a lot of people, including Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel both absolutely abhorred The Hitcher. Most critics hated The Hitcher when it was released. It's infamous for being one of the few movies that Roger Ebert gave a 0-star rating to. And actually in his review, and you can go and read it now, and I urge you to, as a matter of fact, Roger Ebert attacks basically the writer Eric Red, saying that this movie, the script itself, comes from the mind of a seriously disturbed, sick person. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's really interesting. Of course, the reaction of The Hitcher at the time, and it wasn't a huge hit at the time, but it's gained this really big cult following in the years since, thanks to cable and VHS, and now, of course, DVD and Blu-ray. It's a crying shame that we don't have a really good Blu-ray release of The Hitcher in the U.S. There is a pretty good DVD release of the film. I think it's a region 2. It's got some extras, some commentary. It's got interviews with Robert Harmon, Eric Red, C. Thomas Howell, Rutger Hauer, a couple other people. It's actually pretty good. If you have a region-free DVD player or Blu-ray player, by all means, go pick up that DVD. It's worth it. You can get it super cheap. It's definitely worth it. If you've not seen The Hitcher, talking about the original Hitcher from 1986, not the remake, I won't even subject myself to that remake. Won't even watch it. Won't watch it. But if you've not seen the original Hitcher from 1986, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. Go watch it. Come back. Post in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of it. If you've seen The Hitcher, please let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Do you consider it a perfect thriller, as I do? When you read into it deeper, what's your thoughts on the deeper meaning of The Hitcher? If you have any review requests, suggestions for me, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Drax, 007 Drax Gomez, I hope you really enjoyed this review. Thank you for the suggestion. As I said, pleasure discussing this film. Clearly, I think pretty highly of The Hitcher. So, yeah, thanks again for the request there, Drax. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. And don't pick up hitchhikers.